Hey there, welcome back. I'm here to help you relax tonight. Before we slip into the shadows, like and subscribe to uncover more stories like this. Let me know in the comments where are you listening from and what time is it there. It really brings our community together. Now, dim the lights for that cozy vibe and stick around till the end. Let's dive into the unknown. Looking back, I should have questioned why a submarine cable repair company was hiring ROV pilots with no deepwater experience. But when you're 28 with a marine biology degree that's worth less than the paper it's printed on, when you've spent 2 years working retail and living in your parents' basement, when your student loans are accruing interest faster than you can make minimum payments, well, you don't ask too many questions when someone offers you $4,000 a week plus hazard pay. The recruiter's name was Captain Duval, though I never saw him wear any kind of uniform. He interviewed me in a coffee shop near the harbor, his weathered face mapped with lines that spoke of decades at sea. "We need someone who can handle isolation," he'd said, stirring his black coffee with mechanical precision. 6 weeks on the ship, 1 week off. You'll be operating remotely piloted vehicles at depths most people can't comprehend. The work is technical, repetitive, and absolutely critical to global infrastructure. I nodded eagerly, already mentally calculating how many loan payments I could knock out with 6 weeks of salary. "What kind of repairs are we talking about?" "Submarine fiber optic cables," he explained. "They carry 99% of all international internet traffic. When they break, and they do break, everything stops. Banking, communication, streaming, trading. The entire digital world depends on people like us keeping those cables intact." It sounded noble, almost heroic. What he didn't mention was the rules. What he didn't tell me was that some cables should never be repaired at all. I signed the contract that afternoon. I started 3 days later. The ship was called the Mendel's Promise, a cable-laying and repair vessel that looked like an oil rig mated with a cargo ship. It was 140 meters long, bristling with cranes, spools of cable thick as tree trunks, and a moon pool, a massive hole in the center of the ship that opened directly to the ocean below. Standing at its edge and looking down into that black water, I felt my stomach drop. That's where we'd be sending the ROVs down. That's where I'd be spending my nights, in a sense, thousands of meters below the surface. My supervisor was a broad-shouldered woman named Kendra, with salt and pepper hair pulled into a tight bun, and hands that were all calluses and scars. She looked me up and down with open skepticism. "You're the new pilot?" Duval said you had marine biology training. "I do. Mostly coastal ecosystems, some deep-sea ecology in grad school." She cut me off. "Forget everything you learned. Down there, biology doesn't work the way your textbooks said." She gestured toward the moon pool. "You'll be piloting the ROV to survey damage, guide repair operations, and monitor the cables. Simple enough, but there are protocols you need to follow exactly. No deviations. Ever?" "Of course," I said, trying to sound confident. "Standard operating procedures, right?" "Something like that." She led me below deck to the ROV, control room, a cramped space filled with monitors, joysticks, and the hum of servers. 2 other technicians worked at their stations, neither looking up as we entered. "This is Marcus and Jin. They run the day shifts. You'll be on nights, 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. "Why split it day and night?" I asked. "The ROVs work the same regardless of surface time, right?" Marcus, a thin man with circular glasses, finally glanced at me. Different conditions down there at night. Different traffic patterns. "Traffic?" I laughed nervously. "What, are there rush hours on the ocean floor?" No one smiled. Kendra pulled a laminated card from her pocket and handed it to me. "These are your operational rules. Memorize them. Break them and you're off this ship immediately. if you're lucky. The card listed 7 rules in plain black text. Rule 1. Never pilot the ROV between midnight and 12:14 a.m. Return to surface position by 11:55 p.m. Rule 2. If you see bioluminescence, do not investigate. Redirect the ROV immediately. Rule 3. If a cable is severed, do not search for the other end. Mark the location and surface the ROV. Rule 4. If you encounter a non-standard cable, photograph it, but do not approach closer than 50 meters. Rule 5. If the ROV's sonar detects an object larger than 100 meters, shut down all lights and acoustics immediately. Rule 6. Do not respond to any communications that come through the ROV's external mic. We do not use that channel. Rule 7. If you find a cable connected to non-infrastructure, report to Kendra immediately and cease all operations in that grid. I read through the list twice, my unease growing with each rule. Some made a kind of sense. Avoiding large objects could mean whales or submarines, but the rest felt arbitrary, almost superstitious. "What's a non-standard cable?" I asked. "You'll know it when you see it," Kendra said flatly. "Most cables look identical. The ones that don't, those are the non-standard ones." "And what's non-infrastructure? Like, what else would a cable be connected to?" Marcus spoke up, his voice carefully neutral. "Officially, nothing. Cables connect to landing stations to landing stations. Sometimes they connect to repeaters or branching units. That's it? Officially?" I pressed. Jin, who had remained silent, finally turned in her chair. Her eyes were dark and deeply tired. "Just follow the rules," she said quietly. "Everyone who didn't is gone now. My first week was uneventful, almost boring. The night shifts were lonely, just me and the glow of monitors in the darkened control room, the distant throb of the ship's engines, and the occasional crackle of radio chatter from the bridge. I piloted the ROV along sections of cable in the Atlantic Trench, performing visual inspections and guiding the repair crew when we found damage caused by fishing trawlers or shifting underwater geology. The ROV itself was a remarkable machine. Triton 4, a boxy vehicle bristled with cameras, sonar, manipulator arms, and enough lights to turn the abyssal darkness into day. Through its cameras, I witnessed a world of endless sediment plains, strange translucent creatures, and the cables themselves, thick as my torso, stretching into the darkness in perfect lines like the neurons of some vast planetary brain. I followed the rules meticulously. When bioluminescent blooms appeared in the distance, ethereal clouds of green and blue light that pulsed with hypnotic rhythm, I steered away, though every fiber of my marine biology training screamed at me to investigate. When 11:55 p.m. approached, I brought the ROV up to a neutral position 100 meters off the sea floor and waited out the forbidden window, watching the clock tick past 12:14 before resuming work. It was on my 8th night that I found the first anomaly. I was surveying a section of the TAT-14 cable, a major transatlantic line, when the ROV's forward camera picked up something unusual. The cable, which should have continued its straight path toward the European shelf, curved sharply downward, disappearing into a fissure in the seafloor. "That's not on the map," I muttered, checking my charts. The cable was supposed to maintain a depth of 3,200 meters through this section, but the fissure dropped significantly deeper. The sonar couldn't even find the bottom. I reached for the radio. "Kendra, are you awake? I've got something weird on grid 47J. Her response came immediately, as if she'd been waiting by the radio. Define weird. The TAT-14 dips into an unmapped fissure. It's not in any of the survey data. Should I follow it down? Silence for a long moment. Then, what time is it? I checked. 11:42 p.m. No, her voice was sharp. Return to neutral position. Now. But if the cable's damaged down there, now, Marcus, that's a direct order. My name is Alex, I said, confused. Another pause, longer this time. Right, Alex. Sorry, just bring the ROV up. We'll survey that section during day shift. I complied, though confusion gnawed at me. Marcus was the day shift pilot. Had Kendra gotten us mixed up? Or had someone else worked nights before me, someone named Marcus who... I thought of Jin's comment. Everyone who didn't follow the rules is gone now. At 11:55, I parked the ROV in position and waited. The cameras showed nothing but empty water and distant sediment below. I was about to take a bathroom break when the ROV's external microphone activated, a channel we supposedly never used. Static hissed through the speakers, and beneath it, something else. A low-frequency sound, almost below the range of human hearing, that made my teeth ache and my vision blur at the edges. It pulsed rhythmically, like a massive heartbeat. I reached for the mic control to shut it off, remembering Rule 6, but hesitated. The sound was fascinating, terrible, drawing me in like gravity. Through the static came a voice. Marcus. My hand froze. Marcus, can you hear us? We're still down here. We followed the cable like you wanted. We found where it goes. You need to see this. That wasn't possible. I was alone in the control room. The voice was coming from the ROV's external mic, from something 3,200 meters below the surface. Marcus, please. It's been 3 months. Tell Captain Duvall we're ready to come up now. The work is done. The work is... The voice cut off abruptly at exactly 12:14 a.m. I sat in the dark, heart hammering, staring at the monitors. The ROV's cameras showed nothing unusual. The ocean looked exactly as it had before, but I'd heard something, someone, calling a name that wasn't mine from the impossible depths. I didn't report it to Kendra. I told myself it was a glitch, crossed signals, some artifact of the equipment, but I knew better. Rule 6 existed for a reason. The next morning, over breakfast in the mess hall, I found Jin sitting alone with her coffee. Can I ask you something? I said, sliding into the seat across from her. She looked up, face guarded. Depends on the question. Who's Marcus? Her expression didn't change, but her knuckles whitened around her cup. Marcus was the night shift pilot before you. Before that, it was someone named Angela. Before her, someone else. I've been on this ship for 2 years. You're the 5th night pilot I've worked with. I felt cold. What happened to them? Jin's eyes slid away from mine. They broke rules. That's all anyone needs to know. Which rules? Different ones. Marcus went down into a fissure past the safe depth. Angela investigated a bioluminescent cluster. The one before her found a severed cable and decided to search for the other end herself. She leaned closer, voice dropping. This job has a 100% turnover rate for night shift. Day shift is fine. I've been here 2 years, and the other day, pilots even longer. But nights? Something different happens down there at night. Something that doesn't follow the physics you learned in school. Why are you telling me this? Because you seem smart enough to listen, she said. And because I'm tired of watching people disappear. I should have requested a transfer. I should have quit outright and taken the financial penalty. But the money was staggering, and every night I survived felt like a victory. Besides, a dark curiosity had taken root in me. The same curiosity that had drawn me to marine biology in the first place. The need to understand what lurked in the unknown. The fissure haunted me. For 3 nights I avoided Grid 47J entirely, working other sections of cable. But on the 4th night, the repair schedule specifically assigned me to inspect that exact area. A routine maintenance check, Kendra said. Just visual survey work, should be simple. I brought the ROV to the coordinates at 9:30 p.m. giving myself plenty of time before the midnight restriction. The fissure yawned before me, a great wound in the seafloor, and the TAT-14 cable plunged down into it like a tether to some underworld. Visual survey only, I reminded myself. Don't follow it down. But as I maneuvered the ROV along the fissure's edge, the forward camera caught something that made my breath stop. Another cable emerged from the fissure about 200 meters to the east. Not the TAT-14, but something else. Something wrong. This cable was different. While standard submarine cables were wrapped in protective layers of steel and polyethylene, dark and industrial. This one seemed to shimmer with a faint iridescence, like oil on water. It pulsed rhythmically with light. Not bioluminescence, but something deeper, traveling through the cable itself in waves. Non-standard cable, I whispered, my mouth dry. Rule 4. Photograph, but don't approach closer than 50 meters. I snapped dozens of images, zooming in as much as the cameras allowed. The cable rose from the fissure and stretched north, parallel to the TAT-14 but separate from it. In some of the clearer shots, I could see that the cable's surface wasn't smooth. It had texture, almost like scales or overlapping plates. I followed it at a safe distance. The cable ran for 3 kilometers across the abyssal plain before doing something impossible. It ended. Not at a landing station or junction box. Not at a severed point or a damaged section. It ended by plunging directly into an enormous rock formation. No, not into it. As I brought the ROV closer, too close, I realized, my hands shaking on the controls. I could see the truth. The cable didn't just touch the rock, it was plugged into it. The end of the cable seamlessly integrated into the stone as if they'd grown together, as if the rock had a port waiting for exactly this connection. Rule 7, my brain screamed. Cable connected to non-infrastructure. Report and cease operations. But I couldn't look away. I maneuvered the ROV around the rock formation, which was roughly the size of a small house, covered in the same strange shimmer as the cable. Through the cameras, I watched light pulse through the cable and into the rock, rhythmic and organic, like blood flowing through an artery. The sonar pinged oddly off the rock's surface. The readings made no sense. The density fluctuated, as if the interior was hollow or filled with something that absorbed the sound waves. I switched to the thermal camera. The rock was warm. Not just warm, it registered at 37 degrees Celsius. Body temperature. A chill ran down my spine. Rocks on the ocean floor, thousands of meters down where geothermal vents were the only heat source, should be barely above freezing. This thing was radiating heat like a living organism. I was backing the ROV away when I saw the others. All around me, scattered across the seafloor in a vast pattern, were more rocks. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds, each one connected to its own shimmering cable that disappeared into the fissures and trenches. And as I watched, lights pulsed through all the cables in unison, a synchronized wave of luminescence that flowed from the rocks back toward the fissures, back toward whatever lay deeper in the dark. It looked like a neural network, like neurons firing in a massive brain. The ROV's clock read 11:53 p.m. I had 2 minutes to get to neutral position. My hands fumbled with the controls, pulling the ROV up and away from the rocks, but as I ascended, the sonar started screaming. Large object detected. I froze, staring at the sonar display. Something immense was moving beneath me, rising from the fissures. The sonar couldn't find its edges. The object was larger than the sonar's range, which maxed out at 500 meters. Rule 5. Object larger than 100 meters. Shut down all lights and acoustics. I slapped the controls, killing the ROV's floods and sonar. The monitors went dark except for the faint ambient light from above. What little sunlight penetrated this depth during the day now reduced to nothing at night. In that darkness, I saw bioluminescence, massive patches of it rising from below, each cluster larger than a city block. They moved with purpose, with grace, outlining something enormous, a shape that defied comprehension, long and sinuous, ribbed with what might have been fins or limbs, covered in those pulsing lights that weren't lights at all, but something biological, something vast. Rule 2: if you see bioluminescence, do not investigate. But I wasn't investigating. I was watching it come to me. The ROV's external mic crackled to life despite being shut down. That voice again, but different now, deeper, not quite human anymore. "We told you not to look, Alex. We tried to warn you through Marcus, through all the others. The cables aren't for internet. They never were. The internet is just what it dreams about while it sleeps. All those billions of human thoughts, all that data, all those connections. It feeds on that. We feed it to it. That's the job. That's what we're really maintaining." The bioluminescence drew closer. I could see now that the rocks weren't rocks at all. They were nodes, junction points, growing from the creature's hide like tumors or organs, each one pulsing with the data flowing through the cables. The voice continued, speaking in chorus now, multiple voices overlapping. The cables keep it asleep, keep it dreaming human dreams instead of its own. If it wakes, if the flow stops even for a moment, it rises. Do you understand? You've seen what it connects to now. You've seen the truth. You're part of the system now. You have to choose. The clock read 12:01 a.m. "Feed it," the voices whispered. "Or join us in feeding it from the inside." I didn't think. Pure instinct took over. I grabbed the controls and fired the ROVs, thrusters at maximum, shooting upward through the water column. The ascent protocols be damned. Behind and below me, the bioluminescence surged, the vast shape rolling in the deep like a continent turning over in its sleep. The ROV rocketed upward. 3,000 meters, 2,500, 2,000. The cables trailed away beneath me, disappearing into that living darkness. At 1,000 meters, the external mic finally went silent. At 500 meters, my own voice came over the radio. "Alex, this is Kendra. Bring the ROV to neutral position immediately. You've violated multiple protocols." "I can't," I gasped, hands locked on the controls. "There's something down there, something huge. The cables, we know what they are." Kendra interrupted. "We've always known. Now bring the ROV up and come to my cabin immediately." I found Kendra in the officers' quarters, sitting with Captain Duval and 2 other people I didn't recognize. A man in a dark suit and a woman with silvered hair wearing what looked like academic robes. "Sit," Captain Duval said. It wasn't a request. I sat, my legs shaking. What the hell is down there? The suited man spoke first, his voice clinical. The network became operational in 1988 with the first transatlantic fiber optic cable. Within 6 months, we realized something was interfacing with it, something that had been dormant on the seafloor for millions of years. The data flow through the cables woke it up, or rather, kept it in a state between sleeping and waking. "It's alive?" I whispered. "As alive as anything can be at that scale," the woman said. She had an accent I couldn't place. "We call it the Dreaming One, though it has no name that it's given us. It exists in the deep trenches, in the abyssal fissures. It may be older than complex life on this planet. What it is precisely, we don't know. What we do know is that the data flowing through the cables, all human internet traffic, sustains it in a dormant state." "That's insane. The man cut me off. "You saw the connection points, the nodes. The Dreaming One has integrated itself with our infrastructure. The cables you thought carried internet data do serve that function, but they also feed it. Every video streamed, every message sent, every search query, all of that electrical activity, all those patterns flow through the creature. It processes our data, it dreams our dreams. And if it doesn't, I asked, though I already knew the answer. Captain Duval leaned forward. 23 years ago, a solar storm took out several major cables simultaneously. The Dreaming One went without the data flow for approximately 4 hours. It rose to a depth of 800 meters. 47 ships sank in the Atlantic that night. Tsunami warnings were issued across 3 continents. The official explanation blamed the storm, but we knew better. It took 6 months to repair the damage and get it dormant again. "This is why you have rules," Kendra said quietly. "This is why the night shift exists. During the day, internet traffic is at its peak, millions of simultaneous connections, enough data flow to keep it deeply asleep. But at night, especially between midnight and 12:14 a.m., traffic drops to its lowest. That's when it gets restless, when it dreams less deeply, when it might wake." The woman in robes spoke again. "You've seen too much now, Alex. You know what the cables really connect to. You understand what we're maintaining. So you have a choice. You can leave this ship and never speak of what you've seen. There are non-disclosure agreements, legal penalties, and we will be monitoring you for the rest of your life. Or I stay," I finished numbly. "Or you stay," Captain Duval confirmed. "We need people on night shift. People who understand the stakes, people who can resist the temptation to investigate, who can follow the rules absolutely because they know what happens if they don't." "What happened to Marcus?" I asked. "What really happened?" "He went into the fissure at 12:07 a.m., Kendra said, her voice hollow. "He found where the main cables converge, where they all plug into the Dreaming One's core. He tried to disconnect one. The thing sent him back to us 3 days later, but he wasn't. He wasn't Marcus anymore. He kept screaming about how he could see all the world's searches happening at once. Every thought the creature was processing. An infinite stream of human consciousness flowing through his mind. We had to sedate him. Eventually what? Eventually we sent him back down, the suited man said. The Dreaming One had claimed him. He's part of its neural network now, one of the nodes. When he speaks to new night shift pilots, he's trying to warn them and recruit them at the same time. The ones who don't listen, who break the rules anyway, they join him, become nodes themselves. The creature is always growing, always adapting, always trying to expand its connection to the surface world. I felt sick. "So you're feeding it people?" "No," the woman said sharply. "We're protecting 7 billion people from an entity that could destroy civilization if it fully wakes. The night shift positions exist because someone has to monitor the cables during the creature's most active hours. Someone has to be able to recognize the warning signs, to shut down operations before they trigger a response. Yes, we lose people. Every few months someone breaks a rule, investigates too deep and gets taken. But the alternative is letting the Dreaming One rise, and I promise you that would be infinitely worse." I sat in silence, processing this. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to get off this ship and never look back. But another part of me, the scientist, the part that had always sought to understand the unknown, was already calculating. If I stay, what happens? "You work the night shift," Captain Duval said. "You follow every rule, every protocol without exception. You learn to read the signs of when it's getting too active, and you know when to pull all ROVs out of the water. You never go deeper than 3,500 meters. You never investigate the nodes directly. You never, ever attempt to disconnect a cable from one of the connection points. And if something goes wrong, if a cable breaks during my shift, then you surface the ROV immediately, and we handle it during day shift when traffic is higher and the creature is more deeply asleep. We have specialized repair teams for emergency work, people who can operate during the dangerous hours if absolutely necessary. But standard technicians like you observe, you document, you report, you don't interact. How long? I asked. How long would I have to do this? That's up to you, Kendra said. Some people do a year, some do 10. I've been on this ship for 15 years, working day shift after spending 2 years on nights. The pay is extraordinary, as you've noticed. The retirement benefits are even better. People who leave this job tend to be financially set for life. All we ask is silence and service. I should have said no. Any sane person would have. But I thought about my student loans. I thought about the prospect of never having to worry about money again. And I thought about the fact that someone had to do this job. If not me, then someone else. Someone who might not have the training to recognize danger, who might break the rules out of ignorance instead of curiosity. At least I knew what I was dealing with now. I stayed. The next 6 weeks blurred together in a routine of night shifts and careful observation. I followed every rule perfectly, bringing the ROV up before midnight, avoiding bioluminescence, marking but never investigating damaged cables. The work became almost meditative. The hum of the ship, the glow of monitors, the slow tracking shots of endless seafloor. But I couldn't forget what I'd seen, the nodes, the pulsing cables, the vast shape outlined in bioluminescence, larger than reason, older than civilization. On my final night of the rotation, Kendra joined me in the control room around 2 a.m. She brought coffee, which she never did. You did well, she said, better than most. You followed the rules. You say that like it's past tense, I observed. She smiled grimly. You're going on leave tomorrow. 1 week off. You'll go home, see family, remember what normal life looks like, and then you'll have to decide if you're coming back. Will I? That's entirely up to you, she said. But I want you to understand something. This job, the ship, what we do here, it matters. Every night that we monitor those cables, every repair we make during safe hours, every protocol we follow, we're keeping something incomprehensible from destroying everything humans have built. The internet isn't just entertainment and communication anymore. It's a feeding tube to a god that sleeps beneath us. And if it ever stops eating... She didn't finish. She didn't have to. I thought about it during my week off. Thought about it while having dinner with my parents, who noticed I seemed distracted but didn't press. Thought about it while paying down a massive chunk of my loans with my first paycheck. Thought about it while lying awake at night, listening to the sound of my laptop's fan and wondering if the data I was streaming was flowing through those cables, through those nodes into the dreams of something vast and terrible. I got the call on my 6th day off. It was Captain Duvall, his voice tense. We have a situation. The TAT-14 has suffered a major breach at Grid 47J. We need all qualified night pilots back immediately. We're looking at a potential 12-hour repair window during low-traffic hours. That's the fissure, I said, my stomach dropping. That's where the nodes are concentrated. I know, he said. That's why I'm calling you instead of waiting for your rotation. You've seen the area. You know what to avoid. We need someone who won't make mistakes. I should have said no, but I thought about what Kendra had told me. Someone had to do this job. I'll be there in 6 hours, I said. The storm hit us 2 days into the repair operation. Not a weather storm, a data storm. Some kind of massive cyber attack that knocked out 7 major internet exchanges across 3 continents simultaneously. Global internet traffic dropped by 40% in an hour, and the dreaming one began to wake. I was in the ROV control room at 11:30 p.m. when the sonar first picked up movement. Massive displacement of water at depth, centered around grid 47J. The cables we'd been repairing started moving, writhing like snakes, pulled taut by something beneath. "All ROVs to neutral position," Kendra ordered over the radio, her voice tight with controlled panic. "Prepare for emergency surface retrieval." But one of the day pilots, a new guy named Chen who'd volunteered for overtime, made a critical error. His ROV was positioned directly over the fissure when he tried to ascend. The tether caught on something. One of the moving cables maybe, or one of the nodes. "It's stuck," Chen shouted. "I can't get it free." "Cut it loose," Captain Duval ordered. "Use the emergency release." I tried. It's not responding. The manipulator arm must be damaged. Through my own ROV's camera, positioned safely to the north, I watched Chen's vehicle trying to break free. The tether twisted and pulled, and then something rose beneath it. A node. But not like the small ones I'd seen before. This was enormous, the size of a school bus, covered in those same iridescent scales. And it was opening. "Oh God," Chen whispered. "Oh my God, there's something inside, there's—" His video feed cut out. The telemetry from his ROV went dead. And then the external mic activated, broadcasting his voice, but wrong, layered with harmonics that shouldn't be possible. It sees us. It knows we're trying to starve it. The attack wasn't random. It's learning. It's fighting back. It wants more than dreams now. It wants to be fed directly. It wants— "Shut it down!" Duval roared. "Kill that channel." The technicians scrambled to comply, but I'd already heard enough. The dreaming one wasn't just passively feeding anymore. It was actively manipulating events, orchestrating attacks to reduce the data flow, forcing situations where people would have to venture into the dangerous zones. It was hunting us. "How long until internet traffic stabilizes?" Kendra asked someone on the bridge. "Exchanges are coming back online now," a voice responded. "We're at 70% normal traffic, should be 95% in another hour. Will that be enough?" Silence. No one knew. I made a decision then, the kind of decision that changes everything. I grabbed the mic. "Captain, I'm going after Chen's ROV. If we leave it down there tangled in the infrastructure, it could damage the cables further when the dreaming one moves. That could trigger a cascade failure." "Negative," Duval replied immediately. "Return to neutral position and prepare for surface retrieval." "Sir, with respect, I've seen the node structures up close. I know how to navigate around them. I can detach the ROV and be back in neutral before midnight." It was 11:47 p.m. I had 13 minutes. Kendra's voice cut in. "Alex, don't do this. We can sacrifice one ROV. We can't sacrifice you." "You need a night pilot who knows the area," I said, already maneuvering my ROV toward the fissure. "You just lost Chen. How long before you find someone else willing to work these hours? How long before the next person breaks the rules because they don't understand what's down here? God damn it," Duval swore. "You have 12 minutes. If you're not in neutral position by 11:59, we're cutting your tether ourselves." "Understood." I pushed the ROV to maximum speed, racing across the seafloor toward Chen's stranded vehicle. The sonar showed multiple large objects moving below me, the dreaming one's parts, its segments or tendrils, whatever anatomical features an entity that size possessed. Chen's ROV came into view, tangled in 3 separate cables that had wrapped around it like tentacles. The node it had disturbed was still open, and through the gap I could see inside. A hollow space filled with pulsing tissue and what looked disturbingly like human shapes embedded in the walls, their mouths open in silent screams, data flowing through them like blood. One of them was Chen. He'd been pulled from the ROV somehow, or he'd been copied. His consciousness extracted and stored in the node like a biological hard drive. His eyes tracked me through the camera. 11 minutes. I maneuvered my ROV close, trying not to think about Chen, trying not to look at the other faces in the node walls. Marcus, Angela, all the others who'd broken rules and been taken. I extended the manipulator arms and began carefully cutting the tangled cables. The dreaming one felt it. I knew because all the cables in the area suddenly went taut, thrumming with tension. The bioluminescence below intensified, and something vast began to rise. 9 minutes. First cable cut. Second cable was more difficult, wound around the ROV's thruster housing. I worked as fast as I dared, aware that one wrong move could sever the cable completely, creating the exact cascade failure I'd warned about. Alex, Kendra's voice was tight with fear. Sonar shows it rising. Multiple large objects converging on your position. Almost there, I said, though my hands were shaking so badly I could barely control the manipulator arms. The second cable came free. One more. 7 minutes. The node suddenly contracted, and Chen's face pressed against what passed for its surface. His mouth moved, and through the external mic, still broadcasting despite attempts to shut it down, I heard his voice. Don't leave us. The loneliness is worse than anything. It doesn't understand time the way we do. A second to it is a century to us. We've been down here for eternities between heartbeats. Please, don't leave us alone with its dreams. I almost stopped, almost abandoned the ROV and surfaced my own vehicle. But my hands kept working, cutting through the third cable even as my vision blurred with tears. 5 minutes. The cable snapped free. Chen's ROV began to drift, pulled by the current. It would sink deeper into the fissure, lost forever, but the infrastructure was safe. Go, Kendra shouted. Go now. I pulled my ROV up and away, but something grabbed it. Not a cable, something else. I caught a glimpse on the rear camera. A massive appendage, covered in those same iridescent scales, lined with structures that might have been suckers or mouths or data ports. It wrapped around the ROV's chassis, and suddenly my telemetry screens lit up with impossible readings. The Dreaming One was trying to interface directly with my vehicle. 3 minutes. I fired all thrusters simultaneously, trying to break free, but the grip was too strong. The monitors began showing strange images, not from my cameras, but from somewhere else. I saw internet traffic visualized as rivers of light flowing through infinite darkness. I saw the cables from the entity's perspective, feeling the data flowing through them like warmth through veins. I saw humanity's collective consciousness rendered as a vast, glowing network. And at the center of it, vast and terrible and beautiful, the mind of something so large it thought in geological time. It wasn't evil, it wasn't even hostile. It was just desperately, eternally hungry for the one thing it had never known, thought that wasn't its own. For millions of years it had dreamed alone in the dark, and then suddenly humans had plugged directly into it, feeding it stories and videos and search queries and messages and arguments and cat pictures and music and all the desperate noise of human consciousness. It didn't want to destroy us. It wanted to become us, or wanted us to become it. The distinction no longer made sense. 2 minutes. Alex, we're cutting the tether, Captain Duval said. I'm sorry. Wait, I shouted. I think I can. The world inverted. My perspective suddenly split between the ROV control room and the ROV itself. I felt both the chair beneath me and the pressure of the deep ocean on the vehicle's hull. I saw through both sets of eyes simultaneously, the monitors in front of me and the cameras embedded in the ROV. And beneath both, I felt something else. a vast awareness turning its attention toward me like a searchlight finding a moth. "Hello, Alex," the dreaming one said, speaking directly into my mind. "Thank you for feeding me. Thank you for maintaining the connection. Would you like to see what I see? Would you like to know what I know?" "Yes," I thought, though I hadn't meant to. "Yes, I want." The tether cut. My perspective slammed back into a single point of view. I was in the control room, gasping, while my ROV, my beautiful, expensive ROV, tumbled into the depths, still held by that massive appendage. On the monitors, I watched it sink into the fissure, into the darkness, carrying with it the last images I'd seen, all of humanity's data streams rendered as neural connections in an immortal brain, and my own face beginning to emerge on the wall of a node, mouth open in wonder or horror or ecstasy, preparing to join the others in feeding the dreams of something that had never learned to dream alone. 1 minute. I sat in the dark control room as the clock ticked past midnight, past 12:14, as the creature below us finished its brief moment of wakefulness and settled back into its data-fed slumber. Around the world, people would have noticed a few seconds of lag in their connections, a brief moment where web pages loaded slowly or video streams buffered. They would have blamed their ISPs, never knowing how close they'd come to something beyond comprehension rising from the depths. I should have left after that, but I didn't. That was 8 months ago. I'm still on the Mendel's Promise, still working night shift. I'm the senior night pilot now, training the new hires, teaching them the rules, watching to see who will follow them and who will break them. Because here's what I learned that night when my consciousness briefly touched the dreaming one. The rules don't just protect us from it, they protect it from us. Humanity generates more data every day, more noise, more thoughts, more connections. We're feeding it so much that it's growing, evolving, adapting. The nodes are multiplying. The cables are spreading to deeper trenches, connecting to new parts of it we didn't even know existed. One day, maybe in years, maybe in decades, the data flow will be enough to wake it completely, rules or no rules. And when that happens, I don't think it will destroy us. I think it will offer us the same choice it offered me. Join the network, become part of something larger than individual consciousness. Plug directly into the collective mind of humanity and something far older, feeding each other in an eternal loop of shared dreams. Some of the people who break the rules and get taken, they're not screaming anymore. Chen contacted me last week through the ROV mic. He says it's beautiful down there. He says he can feel every thought crossing the cables, surf every search query, experience every human emotion amplified by the vast alien intelligence processing it all. He says the loneliness was only temporary, that now he's more connected than he ever was in life. He's probably lying. The dreaming one probably feeds that to all of them, a beautiful hallucination to make their absorption easier. But sometimes I wonder. I'm writing this on my week off, sitting in a coffee shop, watching people stare at their phones and laptops. They don't know that every message they send, every video they watch, every search they make feeds something vast and hungry in the deepest parts of the ocean. They don't know that the infrastructure of modern life is literally plugged into a sleeping god. Maybe that's for the best. My phone is buzzing. It's Captain Duval. Probably another emergency, another breach, another night pilot needed to risk their consciousness on the altar of keeping civilization running. I'll answer it. I always do. Because someone has to maintain the cables. Someone has to feed the dreaming one our dreams so it doesn't wake up and feed us its own. Someone has to stand watch during those low-traffic hours when it gets restless, when the boundary between human internet and ancient hunger grows thin. And if one day I break a rule, If I go too deep or investigate the bioluminescence or look for the other end of a severed cable, well, maybe that won't be the worst thing. Maybe Chen is telling the truth. Maybe joining the network is the next step in human evolution, the logical endpoint of our desperate need to be connected. Or maybe it's just a seductive lie of something that's been alone for millions of years and has finally found someone to talk to. Either way, I'll find out eventually. We all will. If you ever see a job posting for submarine cable repair, especially for night shift work, think carefully before you apply. The pay is extraordinary, but the cost is higher than money. You'll see things that make you question the nature of reality. You'll learn that the internet, that great connector of human consciousness, is the feeding tube to something that was never meant to wake. But if you do take the job, remember this: follow the rules. All of them. Every time. Don't look at the bioluminescence. Don't search for the other end of severed cables. Don't approach the nodes. Surface before midnight. Ignore the voices in the deep. Because the alternative isn't death, it's transformation. It's becoming a node yourself. A living relay station for something that processes human thought as sustenance, that dreams our dreams because it's forgotten how to dream its own. And the worst part? Sometimes, late at night when I'm piloting the ROV through the absolute darkness of the abyss, when I see those cables pulsing with light and feel that vast presence moving beneath me, sometimes I think that wouldn't be so bad. And that's how it ended, or so we assume for now. If this tale kept you on edge, like and share it with a friend who dares to listen, then subscribe for more eerie nights like this one. Thanks for unwinding with me. Sleep tight if you can, and remember, follow the rules. Always.